1988 250X. I've never seen one. I've never worked on one. I have never ridden one, but we're gonna correct all of that. And I brought it in, and so the seller said it didn't have any compression. Now, if you're not familiar with the 250X, it's like a 250 ES Big Red and a 350X kind of got together. You know what I mean? It's really weird. It's got a head or a valve cover with a decomp system in it, exactly like a 350X. It's got chain drive like a 350X. It has reverse like a Big Red 250 ES. It's a hand clutch like a 350X. It does not have an electric start like a 250 ES Big Red. So that's the only comparison I can really make between the two is it takes a little bit of a 350X and a little bit of a Big Red, and they come up with this. And so I'm excited to check it out. It's this one has been sitting. Seller told me it hasn't ran in 20 years, and I can believe that. It looks really bad, but I think it's going to clean up really good. You saw the montage at the beginning. The frame is really dirty, but I think it's going to clean up good. Suspension functions and cycles. The rear brake is locked up. I hit the brake and it kind of collapsed or compressed and then stuck. But the big news today is I diagnosed that the CDI was bad on this machine. That's what sidelined this machine. When I brought it in, the seller told me he felt that it didn't have any compression. Well, I ran a compression test and it's got more than enough compression to run. It spins over fine, which means it kicks over fine. There is no electric start. There is no pull start. It's kick only. It's got compression. The carburetor slide is stuck at the bottom. It's not moving, and I don't want to break it. So we're going to go put it in the parts cleaner and see if we can kind of limber it up a little bit. Get that slide to start moving. I don't want to nick it and tear it up. Here's the takeaway for today. Did you know that it takes this special AC, because it is, CDI box, and I don't have one. But I got to looking at it, and sometimes I'm just kind of a simple fella and I think in simple terms. This CDI is bigger. I know it's AC. There's 6 wires. So what CDI would have 6 wires to it? Something with reverse. This machine has reverse. The 250 ES has reverse. So I said, well, if we didn't hook up the gray wire like we do on the 200 ESs, and we bypass the no start in reverse, which this machine also has apparently, it's a gray wire, then we would only have 5 wires. Now what CDI would have 5 wires? Well, anything without reverse would basically have 5 wire CDI. I'm not believing this, but I have been kicking on this thing for a while. I've started at the stator, and I've tracked current all the way through. I've diagnosed that the kill switch actually works only in one direction, and the other direction it does not. We do not have a key for this, so we had to bypass the key. We have spark, and we got spark because I took a square CDI box and I took the wires out and I repinned it to where this CDI box is supposed to be. As you see, there's no plug there. See, that's the plug, that's the gray wire we're not using, so disregard that. This is not the right CDI. If the results work, then it's the right CDI box for tonight. guys. Well, there you go. 1988 TRX 250. It's a first for me. It really is kind of an odd animal here. It's an odd duck. You've got components of a 350X. You've got components of a 250 ES, and I know they're probably not exactly the same. You can see what Handel was thinking. You know, 88 was a transitional year from three-wheelers to four-wheelers, and I'm sure they had parts and just stacked to the ceiling, and they had to figure out ways to use them up. And you can definitely see the same engine family of the 250 ES in this engine. It sounds the same, it runs the same. It's really neat to have that level of horsepower with reverse chain drives. A really simple system. This chain's really loose and we got to fix the brake. It's not finished, but it's running and riding and starts right up, and I'm just tickled pink about it. Things you need to take away on this one is CDIs. So I'll do a more in-depth video on this, but I think this is pretty fascinating, is that you've checked this kill switch and you've checked the stator and you've checked your coil and everything checks out. The only thing left really in this system for sure is a CDI box. And so I go through those procedures before I go and order a CDI box. And so I've ordered a CDI box, but I just didn't feel like waiting. And it kind of pushed me to kind of think outside the box. And I made a video a while back about the 84 200 ES where I converted a round CDI to a square. The square is the standard. It's very common. Pit Bikes, eBay sells these for like $9, I think. Really, really cheap, maybe even less. And that video is done very well. It's probably one of my larger videos on YouTube. But I took it, this is a 6-pin CDI, same as this one, which means there's 6 wires going to it. You've got a ground, you've got an input, you've got a reverse lockout, you've got a trigger wire, and you've got an output for your accessories. It's about it, 6 wires. By taking and rearranging those 6 wires, this machine came with this 2-plug CDI. And I took those 6 wires out and I changed the configuration. There's a mosquito in here, sorry. And I changed the configuration and plugged it into a little cheap square CDI. Now, do a little warning here across the screen. I'm sure there's something different here. Rev limiters might be different. There's different parameters in here. But the simple fact of power going in, power going out, this is the brain to the operation. No different than this one or this one here. They're all pretty much exactly the same. It's knowing that pin layout. That's the most important part. Now I'll do a much more in-depth, I'll have all the pieces laid out video on that. This is a will it run. This is a success. This is bringing this old girl back. You know, she's got a long way to go, but she runs and drives, and actually the front brakes do work. The left one works a little more than the right one, but they work. They will bring you a little whoa when you need it. But check it out. I mean, I started putting it back together. It's rough, but it's clean. We got a ton of spider cracking. We're gonna call this carbon fiber. There's a few things that you can put on here, not paint, to try to make this look a little more or a little better. But I don't think you're gonna get rid of all of it. Seat definitely is gonna have to have new foam. I mean, we can cut this out and replace it. There's a video by Bigfoot Bites and Brews. I'll put his logo up and a link to his channel in the description. He does some really good seat work. You can follow him. I even think he has a video where he cuts out a section, replaces just that piece, and then covers over it. He did a good job on it. The big deal here is the gas tank is great. I have it out. I haven't put it back in the machine yet. I do want to clean it. Let me get over here in the light a little bit better. I do want to clean the tank, but if you can look in there, it looks great. But I've got the tank out. It looks really good. It does seem to have a pinhole in the bottom. We're going to have to address that. I didn't see any point in putting it back in the machine just to take it back out again. Factory exhaust is still intact. I didn't hear any real rattles. It's just a 40-year-old four-wheeler. And this is what happens when you let one sit. This was in a pole barn, and the pole barn ended right back here. And so all of the rain and the wind really took the beating on the back. That's why the swing arm looks as bad as it does. And the front of the frame looks really good. Frame color actually comes out really good. This is just pressure washed. This isn't really, there's no soap really been on here. Maybe a little simple green. But it's come around really good. I'm still very interested if anybody knows anything about a heart-shaped bumper. I'd love to find out more about it. This is the same company that made these Nerf bars. AC Racing. I see they're still around, which is pretty cool because that's a nice set of bars. I like the layout, how short they are. This is a mid-sized machine. I would say it's probably the same size as a Recon. That's a good entry level. I think this was really promoted as the TRX250R's 4-stroke younger brother. Hand clutch with reverse. Just makes me think that it was more of an entry level machine. 1988 TRX250X. Never seen one before. What am I gonna do with it? I don't know. That's a good question. It's one of those machines that kind of falls in between categories. It's not fast enough to be fast, you know, but it's not a dog either. It's fully suspended. It rides really nice. It's quite comfortable. It's a good size. It's a good entry level size. It's got disc brakes all the way around. Hand clutch makes it fun. So this is one of those situations. It's like driving a Volkswagen Bug. You know, they're nimble, they're quick, but they're not fast. Well, that's kind of what this is. It's quick, it's nimble, but it's never going to be considered fast. But I think it's a lot of fun to see a real barn find. I mean, literally, the pictures are in the video. I dug it out of a barn. It's a pole barn, but it's a barn that counts. There's a barn in the background that has sides, so that counts too. But yeah, a real barn find, and something as simple as a bad CDI. And I'll say the carburetor probably would have been okay if they hadn't let it sit 20 years. That carburetor has not moved. That slide was completely there was barnacles and there was just buildup and calcium on that slide. I'll say it again as a warning. I would not recommend putting Scotch-Brite pad on your slide of your carburetor. Okay, that's my disclaimer. But if you've got a slide that's got literally things growing on it, you've got to get it off. So take that with a little grain of salt. Lightly, you know, abrasive will work. But yeah, those are the only two things really that killed this machine. Was a bad CDI, and then after it set for a while, carburetor locked up. You couldn't force it at all. So those two things, and it's up and running. We got to do other things. We got to, you know, adjust the valves on it. We got to adjust the timing chain on it. It needs a full service. We need brakes on the rear. It needs tires. It needs a lot of stuff. But right now we can enjoy it for what it is. It's a running and driving barn find. And we didn't really spend any money. I had a used CDI out of an old 3-wheeler, and the parts cleaner. Oh, here's a tip. The tablets that go in your dishwasher. I cleaned this carburetor with 3 tablets from our dishwasher, a Cascade, if you will. The little dissolvable tablets. Put them in there, turned it on, got it up to temperature, put the carburetor in it, took it out, blew it out, cleaned it out. Y'all watched that on the video. The only thing that didn't come clean with this was the idle jet. I fought and fought and fought, and it's not coming clean. We threw it away. So I got another one. I buy them in bulk now because that seems to be the common theme that really, you know, just never comes clean. I cannot seem to get them clean consistently. But I think it really did a good job for literally $1 in the parts cleaner. It would have been better with other products, but it's very good clean for such a small amount of money invested. So it was worth a try. Okay, so there's a lot of tips in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And y'all take care. I'll see you next week. Bye.